I don't think we're going to have Sheets in for the rest of the week. He has been updating and doing what he can. So shout out to Sheets for trying to do everything he can, even in a tough time. And we appreciate it. So thanks very much for that. I need to get on the right track with this NBA. So I'm gonna start playing probably like a little bit more single entry stuff like that. It's just been a little bit frustrating to get things right. And I just haven't quite put the pieces together. I felt like I really did a couple times last week. Got a little unlucky with some injuries and stuff, but hey, we're on to today. We're going to talk about this from a max entry and from a, single entry sort of standpoint of what I'm going to be playing. Cause I'm just going to try and play one in the big one. And then I'm going to probably try to script like 20 lineups or so, or I'll just build them myself because I've been having a little trouble with the scripting lately. So anyway, all of my woes aside, we're going to get into this slate. I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to go game by game. This is what happens in the season. You just go through some rough patches. Shout out to Neil last night. I know he chopped some tournaments, Wolf of Ball Street in our Discord, and shout out to him for being awesome last night and doing really well. Anyway, getting into it. All right, Milwaukee at Charlotte. We just saw this, and at first glance, like Giannis price is really cheap. Charlotte, this isn't the same Charlotte team that we saw before. Like they just can't score, and they're not a team that I really want to like treat the same. I don't know, the way we usually do, where we just load up against them. I think there's a lot of plays to consider in this game. I think Giannis certainly makes sense as a spend up, but I don't think it's any sort of a must play. Nobody who quite makes the priority list. We'll see what value we get, and I'll reassess Giannis at that point. On the Charlotte side, you do actually have a lot of guys who look good for value. I mean, we just saw them put up nothing. Like none of these guys got there in the last game. I kind of like the Grant Williams play today. We'll see. We're short on value, so I have Williams listed. I have Bridges, who was horrible the other night, on my list, and I have Miller here as well. So nobody quite making the priority list, but again, we're going to find out a little bit more later today. One thing to keep an eye on also is Trey Mann, I think, is being a little bit under projected. So maybe there is something we can do in the stack and just hope that Charlotte can be somewhat competitive. I don't think they're going to be down by 40 at halftime again or whatever it was the other day. But I do think that, we need them to be somewhat competitive. All right, moving over to Utah and Orlando. Making sure you guys can see this, all right, so let's see. We got Hendricks. I actually like the Hendricks play maybe a little more than most. I believe in this kid. They're starting to give him more and more run. So I have Hendricks listed as an interesting potential play. It's a really bad matchup, and I don't really want to get overly exposed here. Lauri Markkanen's price is certainly reasonable. Keontae George, probably not going to do that. So really not a whole lot that I love, but I'm open to the Hendricks thing as another value. Hendricks and Grant Williams are I got two guys I have rated similarly. Okay, so we have Banchero questionable officially tonight. We don't know whether or not he's going to play. I would like to get some exposure here. So as of right now, I'm okay with the Suggs fairly chalky-ish stuff. We're going to have minutes opportunity. It's a good matchup against Utah. Banchero or Wagner probably will end up as somewhat of a priority too, depending on what happens with Banchero tonight, whether or not he plays. And they're starting, Wendell Carter again will jump off a little bit, if not. So I actually like Wendell Carter maybe a little bit better than most do. I'm actually going to currently put him here because I just think this ownership is too low, and I think there's plenty of upside for him against a Utah team that just can give it up to him. So I'm interested a little bit in the Carter and the Suggs here. I really want to capitalize on these matchups, but again, it's all going to depend on what happens with Banchero. Moving over to Atlanta and Brooklyn. Again, another good, decent pace game. Brooklyn's been a little bit slower lately, but still Atlanta makes it fast enough on their own. Capella sort of fits into the same mold as a Carter play. I like Carter a little bit better than Capella today, but I am totally open to the Capella idea. And DeJounte Murray, they move up to 9,400. I am going to take a shot at that. I love when everyone jumps off because the price changes a little bit. I still think there's a monster ceiling for him. And if you're not going to play him, I have he or Bogdanovich as borderline priorities, to be honest with you. So I like that idea. Kobe Buffkin, first round pick. they're going to start to give this guy a little bit more run. So he's a guy you can possibly consider for value. And then Jalen Johnson, who we just consistently doesn't quite project as well as his upside tends to indicate. So I'm interested in Atlanta. I think this is a spot where I'm going to do some stuff. I just am not sure what it is yet, but probably going to split up Bogdanovich. And for right now, I'll put Bogdanovich as a core play. But I really do think you want some exposure to this Atlanta team with no Trey. And I would include basically get exposure to most of these guys if you are multi-entering. Brooklyn on the other side, you have a ton of plays that look really interesting. Schroeder, they didn't move his price up enough. He's one that I like. I like Bridges. Again, this core is going to be early, so it's going to be whittled down as the day goes on. But I like the idea of getting exposure there. I also like Cam Johnson. Again, going to overexpose myself early. Sounds like a weird thing to say to this game. And I like all of these guys. And if you're not playing Schroeder, I do think that Lonnie Walker, the problem I have with these situations sometimes is that when so many guys project well and there's just not enough room to go around, it does have me worried a little bit. One thing you can consider is Dorian Finney-Smith actually is another value play that I think makes quite a lot of sense. So I think we're going to be getting to multiple pieces from Brooklyn, depending on what other value opens up today. Those are the three I have right now that I'm the most interested in, but I'm certainly open to it. And obviously Ben Simmons playing or not is going to dictate a little bit more of what we do. If he's out, oh man, we're going to probably have a lot more interest even in this game, which already is interesting enough with no Cam Thomas. So, all right, moving over to Golden State and New York. This might be the first time I've said this year that I'm open to the idea of taking a shot at Steph in New York. Moody, I still have mixed feelings about this value. I'm going to have to wait to see later to see what I want to do. But Steph in Madison Square Garden, I like to play the stars there. They tend to have, slight elevation in their performances. So I'm open to the Steph idea in New York, even though the matchup is not great. And I never play Steph, but it's only 6 games tonight. The spend-ups are, you worry about Giannis with the blowout. We've got some other thoughts we could look at, but I think Steph is kind of interesting. And if Brunson plays tonight, I honestly think this is probably like a little bit too low of a projection. Maybe it's hedging just in case they think he doesn't play. I'm assuming he does play tonight. I am actually going to go ahead and prioritize Brunson, mostly as a reminder to, if he's not playing, I'm going to get multiple pieces. Hart, DiVincenzo, Hartenstein should be back tonight, so that's probably going to be the extent of it. If we lose Brunson, well, I think you could still consider some of these other guys. If you lose Brunson, obviously Miles McBride and Burks, but for right now, I'm just going to put the tag a little bit on Brunson. I do like the idea of a little bit of a Brunson Steph thing, but again, not a guy who usually plays Steph in DFS, even though he's awesome in general. I might get there a little bit today. All right, and guys, pop in questions or thoughts. We'll do a little Saber Sim build at the end of this and go from there. By the way, fire start for golf. At least that one thing. I'm almost like worried my golf lineups are doing too well that I'm going to have to play. I'm going to have to worry that I didn't play them in Showdown because they're very, very strong starting golf. All right, OKC, San Antonio. Really good matchup here. Shea is the other spend up you could consider today. I feel like. I think it makes sense to play one of he or Giannis from one perspective, but I kind of like the idea of the Brunson as my highest spend up until we get more value. So nobody quite makes the priority list for me, but I do like Jalen Williams. I do like Shea, and that's probably most of what I get to. I don't mind the idea of a little Chet either. So I'm gonna have to revisit this one a little bit later because it's a little pricey, and the matchup obviously is tough against Wembanyama in one sense. But I kind of want to see what these guys do against each other. I'm just sort of open to the idea of a very low-owned Chet. I think it's the matchup's strong enough. Anyway, San Antonio, this is where I think you want to try to do some things. Look, Wembanyama is completely in play. Every night, I think you can play Wemby. I'm going to try to do it more when he's low-owned because he's going to be fairly low-owned today. So I'm going to put Wemby down as a potential guy to consider. Obviously, like face value, I think he's a better play than Steph is. I just have a feeling that Steph has a game tonight, and I can't really explain it. But I love the Wembanyama play. I just think that it's this guy is going to put up so many 70s and 80s and 90s in his future. I just think being ahead on it, even when his price seems too high, is definitely a reasonable idea. Everybody else, again, so we have another situation similar to Brooklyn where just so many plays look good that it kind of has me a little bit worried, and they sort of spread minutes around. I do think that maybe they can hang in a little bit while we're at home, at least for 3 quarters, maybe enough to get a fourth quarter run out in this game. But right now, I think that the simplest answer, because we don't have value, is probably Branham. I do like Trey Jones a little bit as well, just because we don't have value. And I'm open to the Keldon thing, but I want to revisit that one again a little bit later. He does feel a little too cheap. I think that Keldon and Sohan, you could certainly make an argument for. So I'm going to have to figure out San Antonio a little bit later today, really depending on what other news we have elsewhere, because they do all look really good. Fred VanVleet's price, I'll bite. I worry a little bit about Houston on the road in general, but I definitely can get behind this Fred VanVleet price. Again, reminder that my early core is going to be more expensive than than it will be later today. I like the idea of getting to one of Whitmore or Brooks just because the value's there. I'm going to put Whitmore in for right now, but I'm open to changing that. And also, Sengun completely in play. Just didn't get to him when I first tried to build a little bit today. Phoenix, we have Booker and Durant. We have Beal questionable. I don't know what to do with Beal questionable. If Beal is out, I have no issue with loading up on Booker, Durant, and then we have the Bull thing. I'm going to have to do a little bit more digging to see how I feel about this. I don't know that this feels like the right thing to do, but again, 3,900 is 3,900. If we're really going to play him though more than Dorian Finney-Smith, like I don't know, like that's sort of the question I was running into is like, do I want to gamble on both of them? Do I want to just pick one of those guys? And there's other 4K guys too. I just thought those two, in very different ways, I have projected very similar. Bull with plenty of upside if he gets the minutes, and Finney-Smith who's going to get the minutes, but doesn't necessarily have the massive upside that you'd hope for. Although he did have a big game the other day. So let's see. With all that said, we're going to refresh here. We're going to run a SaberSim build, and we'll get there. All right, so let's see what we got here. Lots of cool stuff from Wolf there. That's great. What else do we have? Wolf, why are you going to lose tonight? All right, let's see. I'm trying to figure out what else. Love the Brunson early priority. Thanks, man. I do think that is a pretty strong one. I think the Brunson Steph thing could be something tonight. I just considering it. It's a smaller slate. I like to take a little bit more gambles, maybe do a little bit more mini stacks or stacks. That's where I'm at. All right, so we're gonna do a build. First person to say what are we building in the Discord? Like which tournament do you want me to build for? And I will go ahead and build it. Let me know which one. And I'm gonna go correlation a little bit higher today. And by the way, the correlation for those people who played the Bulls and Cavs last night, man, they nailed it. God, I wish I had my correlation a little bit higher yesterday because I did have some exposure to those guys and I just didn't have them in the same game. Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right, DK. What's the tournament, guys? Tell me which tournament I'm building in here. I want to do the contest sims, but you guys got to let me know what tournament. And if you don't let me know what tournament, we don't do it. 15. I don't know what that means. You mean the fadeaway? Jolly said, it's just say the name of the tournament. The first person to say the name of the tournament, I'm in. Is it the fadeaway that we want? Should be down here somewhere. All right, let's do the fadeaway. We'll do 20 builds. Yeah. You just say the name of the tournament, guys. Like say the fadeaway, say whatever. Now Wolf. Okay, so we'll get Wolf next time, but it's gonna be similar for the fadeaway and for the $3.20 max. Okay, let's see what we got here. Fadeaway, blah blah blah. Save settings and build settings. Let's do 20. Let's do it at 2,000. And everything else looks pretty right. 10,000. All right. So, and then we have to make a couple of quick things. Let's see. What else do I have here? Let's make sure to just we'll just go 40 even and 20, 28. That seems a little bit high. for a median. All right. So let's build the lineups based on. Anything else, guys? You guys want to pop in here? Go ahead. Did I lose you for a minute? Looks like it jumped out for a second, but all right, let's see what we got. And yeah, I mean, a lot's going to change later today, but this is, good way to see where you're at. By the way, where the hell did Chad Ramey come from today? I was not expecting that. That's a little tilting because all my other guys are just crushing. I'm in K9 at the moment. I'm into it. I'm into anything that I can do. Like right now, I have struggles that, like everybody else does throughout the NBA season. But I've been off more this year. I'm actually not down. I had a great first. I mean, in the first week, I made a bunch. So I'm not quite down, but I'm getting closer. And it's just been sort of hit or miss. I feel like some days you're really on it, and some days I'm really off of it. I liked my strategy last night. That overtime game probably ruined any chances that I had. But I just been a little bit off. So I like the late swap. I think I'm going to probably take some gambles and speculate on players that are questionable, but not. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting strategy thing. I've played it a million times before. We used to have no late swap on FanDuel. And I won a couple big tournaments specifically with Anthony Davis at less than 1% ownership because people were worried he wasn't going to play. And I won six figures twice by just speculating on him basically playing because he was too cheap if he did play. Anyway, we're going to get there. We're going to get back on track. We're going to pull a wolf and get there like he did last night. So let's go through what we got here for our exposures and everything. Yep, they're in on 100% Mikal Bridges. So the thing that I'm constantly trying to figure out with these, see, they agree with me, and actually that's something that I really like, that Wendell Carter play as a way of maybe getting different. If Banchero's out, obviously it's not going to be that different, but I like that idea, and it's very interesting that he's the only sub 10% guy we have at any significant. I guess 10% Cody Martin, who I didn't really touch on much earlier, but I think that's totally reasonable. It's just not the most exciting thing in the world. But that's sort of the big stance they're taking, and sort of spreading out some of these other, low-owned plays that I mentioned, Hendricks. If Beal plays, I don't mind that. I would probably try to get a little bit more Brandon Miller if I was playing multiple entry. They like Jalen Williams. I don't mind the Jalen Williams at all. But it is interesting, like pretty much the chalk, but we do have the Carter and the Hendricks, who I mentioned, as getting a little bit of love. So I'm going to take some shots with those guys. I already was planning on it anyway. Just wanted to throw this out there. All right, guys. Anyway, so that's what we've got early in the morning. As usual, I just think it makes so much sense to just wait to build my stuff. I get myself in trouble when I try to get the early content out for you guys, and then I just I get locked into play. So that's one of my corrections I'm trying to make to improve my play this year. So, or the second half of the year. And we're going to finish strong. So good luck to everybody out there. Shout out to Sheets. We hope to have you back soon, buddy. And good luck. Let's crush it. Let's crush it today.